The cloth trade boomed in Johnshaven. In the mid-1800s, it was said you could hear the click of the shuttle in nearly every home. In the mid-19th century, the village was expanding and it was about to get another boost. Now, this land was owned by the local lairds, a family called Scott. Hercules Scott inherited the estate from his father in 1859, and a few years later he took the site of an earlier house and decided to build a brand new mansion. He was keen to develop the industries in Johnshaven. He'd spent time away, but he wanted his new seat in place to oversee his plans for the village. The old house was entirely swept away and a handsome new mansion was built in the Scottish baronial style. Now, this was a style that had been introduced by Sir Walter Scott, the author, the poet, that great celebrator of Scots heritage. A little later, Queen Victoria built Balmoral in this style, and that was it. Everyone wanted a fashionable new house like this. And it really does hark back to medieval Scotland, picking up cues from castles, tower houses, way back in the medieval period. Look at that turret on the side there, those fish scale slates there on top. And that's not a porch, that's a veritable gatehouse of a structure there at the front. The whole impression that you get is that this is a very, very ancient place. It's grown, expanded over time. Bits have been added on. But of course it hasn't. It was all built in more or less one piece. The mansion is now a school, and headmaster Richard Toley has researched Hercules Scott and the impact he had on Johnshaven. What a great way to come into a baronial home through a great hallway like this. It's magnificent. Hercules Scott didn't grow up here. He arrived here. Where did he come from?
Hercules himself was born down in England. However, the actual estate itself, in terms of the Scott family, goes back to 1570.
When he arrived here, how was he received by the local people?
With open arms. They couldn't wait to see him back. Obviously, he was the son who'd been away for a period of time. I think in the Stonehaven Gazette at the time talked of it as a boon to the local area, and they actually had picnics up here and celebrated his return.
Hercules recognised the people of Johnshaven were supported mainly by fishing and flax, so he looked for ways to improve both the economy and everyday life. A prosperous village would allow him to increase rents and take a share of any trading profits. Richard, we've got a fantastic view out over the sea, out over the village. And as laird here in this great mansion, Hercules Scott also was surveying the village.
Exactly. And this is probably the fact that we're so close to Johnshaven emphasises why he got involved with various philanthropic efforts within the village and the industry that he put into that. So, for example, there was the erection of a soup kitchen, which was in the early 1860s. We also find that he put up what's called the St John Templar Hall at a cost of £300. That's probably about £50,000 in today's money. But he was very much somebody who saw himself as part of the Johnshaven community. He was chairman of the Montrose to Inverbervie rail line, so he had very much an involvement in the railway line. He obviously invested a lot of money himself in the development of the new harbour, which was one of the biggest developments that Johnshaven saw, costing in the region of £4,000. As a result of this philanthropy, we find that Hercules himself is actually allowed to stop the horn of the flax mill because of the amount that he's done for the community. So he's the only person in the area who can actually ask the hooter to stop.
He's got some sort of function on, or guests or whatever.
But it scared his horses. So that's the reason why.
I'm getting a real sense of someone, embedded in the community here. He's going to make it succeed. Invest, trade, commerce. That's the way to do it.
He was a forward-thinking Victorian, I think, is the best way of describing him.
Yeah. The investments Hercules made would help Johnshaven grow, and the village began to develop up the hill away from the harbour.